I still remember the exact words on the email. Congratulations, Daniel. The panel has selected you for the Chicago Design Fellowship. 3 years of work led to that one line. I read it 4 times before I let myself smile. Then I told Claire, and her face didn't move the way I expected. That's amazing, she said, but her voice cracked in the middle of it. You don't sound amazed. I am. I promise I am. She looked down at her hands. It's just, Chicago is so far. It's a year, Claire. Maybe less. She didn't answer right away. She was still wearing black. Marcus had been gone 3 weeks. I can't lose you too, she finally said. Not right now. I set the acceptance letter on the counter like it was something breakable. So don't go, she said. Please, Daniel. My mom needs me. Renee needs me. I need you. I want to say I thought about it for days. I didn't. I said yes to staying that same night, because that's what 4 years with someone does to you. It teaches you to catch them before you think about whether you're allowed to fall too. Patricia called 2 days later. I picked up because I always picked up for Claire's mother, even before Marcus died. I heard you're turning down that job, she said, like she already knew the answer and just wanted to hear me confirm it. I'm staying, yeah. Good. Because I don't think you understand what this family is going through, Daniel. My son is dead. His wife has a 5-year-old boy with no father. And you're worried about a building in Chicago. I wasn't going to abandon anyone, Patricia. It's a fellowship, not a different planet. Everything is a sacrifice for someone. Ask yourself whose turn it is. I didn't have an answer for that. I still don't know if there was a good one. Here's what people don't understand about me and Claire. I've always been the one who bends. When her lease ended sophomore year and mine still had 8 months on it, I broke my own lease to move with her. When her father got sick, I drove 4 hours every weekend for a year so she wouldn't have to sit in that hospital alone. I turned down a summer internship in Seattle once, back when we were only dating a year, because she said long distance scared her. I never resented any of it. That's the part that matters. I did those things because I loved her, and loving someone means you carry things for them sometimes. But there's a difference between carrying something and being asked to set yourself down completely. I didn't see that difference yet. Not in that kitchen, with the acceptance letters still sitting there like a door I'd shut myself. The weeks after Marcus's funeral blurred together. Claire went to Renee's apartment almost every day, first to help with paperwork, then groceries, then just to check on Theo. I understood it. Renee had lost her husband. Theo had lost his father. Someone had to help. I just didn't expect that someone to disappear from our own apartment in the process. You're at Renee's again tonight? I asked one Thursday, watching her grab her keys. Theo's been having nightmares. Renee asked if I could stay till he falls asleep. You did that Monday too. Daniel. She said my name like a warning. This isn't the time to keep score. I'm not keeping score. I'm asking where my fiancé is on a Thursday night. I'm being there for my brother's son. I would think you'd understand that. I let it go. I always let it go, because every time I pushed, she reminded me, gently but pointedly, that I still had my life. My job. My health. My family. What did I have to complain about? So I stopped asking. But I started noticing. I noticed her phone stayed face down on tables now. I noticed she came home smelling like someone else's laundry detergent. I noticed how she talked about Theo's bedtime routine with a familiarity that felt less like an aunt and more like someone rebuilding a family that wasn't hers to rebuild. I told myself I was imagining it. Grief does strange things to people, and Claire had never lost anyone the way she lost Marcus. Some didn't buy that excuse for a second. We were at the site trailer, going over floor plans for the renter project, when he asked, out of nowhere, "How's Claire?" "Fine. Busy with her family stuff." "Still." He set down his coffee. "Man, it's been 8 months. Grief doesn't have a deadline, Sam." I didn't say it did. He looked at me for a second too long. I said 8 months. You've missed 2 of my birthday things. Our anniversary trip got cancelled. And last week you told me you slept alone 4 nights in a row. That's not grief support anymore, Daniel. That's a pattern. She's helping her sister-in-law raise a kid whose dad just died. I know what it looks like from the outside. I'm asking what it looks like from the inside. To you. I didn't answer, because I didn't have a good one, and Sam knew it. You gave up Chicago for this, he said quietly. I just want to make sure you know what this actually is. I told him he was overthinking it. I told myself the same thing, driving home that night, past Renee's building, where Claire's car was parked out front again, lights on upstairs, my own apartment dark and waiting for me on the other side of town. I didn't turn off my engine. I just sat there for a minute, looking up at that window, telling myself everything was fine. I didn't believe it. Not really. But I drove home anyway. Our anniversary fell on a Tuesday that year. I booked the same restaurant we went to on our first date, the little Italian place with the crooked candles, because 4 years felt like something worth marking, even in a bad year. Claire cancelled at 4 in the afternoon. Renee's drowning in paperwork, she said over the phone. Marcus's life insurance, the mortgage, all of it. She asked if I could come help her sort through it tonight. Tonight? Our anniversary. I know the timing is terrible. I do. But Daniel, she has no one else. She has a lawyer. She has your mom. She has a whole family. She has me, Claire said. Like that settled it. I'll make it up to you, I promise. I ate dinner alone that night, at a table set for 2, and told the waiter the other reservation wasn't coming. 3 weeks later, I had my first solo gallery showing. 6 months of renderings and a scale model I'd built by hand, the kind of night that doesn't come around twice in a career. I asked Claire 2 weeks in advance to be there. She texted an hour before it started. Theo's running a fever, 102. Renee's alone and panicking. I have to go. I'm so sorry. I wanted to be there so bad. I stood in that gallery, shaking hands with people who mattered, glancing at the door every few minutes like she might still walk through it. She didn't. Sam caught me checking my phone for the 4th time. She's not coming, is she? Theo has a fever. Theo has a mother, Sam said. And that mother has a mother-in-law, and a house full of people who aren't you. I didn't say anything. I just went back to shaking hands, smiling for a room full of people, feeling like the only one who noticed the seat I'd saved was still empty. I kept thinking back to the funeral. Rain that day, the kind that never really commits to falling hard, just hangs in the air and soaks you anyway. I stood behind Claire as she held Patricia's hand at the graveside. Promise me, Patricia had said, gripping her daughter's wrist. Promise me you won't let Renee fall apart. She has no one now. I promise, Mom. Claire's voice had been steady, certain. I won't let her fall apart. Ever. I remember thinking it was a beautiful thing to say. A loyal thing. I didn't know yet that I'd spend the next 8 months watching her keep that promise louder than she kept any promise she'd made to me. I finally brought it up on a Sunday morning, coffee still steaming between us, trying to keep my voice soft. Claire, can we talk about something? That tone means it's not going to be fun. I feel like I haven't seen you. Really seen you. In months. I'm right here. You're right here maybe 3 nights a week. The rest of the time you're at Renee's. She set her mug down harder than she needed to. So this is about you. It's about us. You missed my brother's funeral prep because of a work deadline once, Daniel, and I never held that over you. But the second I'm there for a grieving widow, suddenly I'm neglecting you. That's not what I said. You skipped our anniversary complaint straight to accusing me of choosing her over you. Do you hear yourself? I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm telling you I miss you. Well, I'm sorry my brother's family falling apart is inconvenient for your schedule. That landed exactly where she meant it to. I didn't have a comeback for grief. Nobody does. That's what made it such a good shield. Patricia walked in without knocking. She still had a key from when she used to house sit for us. Right in the middle of it, carrying a bag of something for Claire. What's going on in here? Nothing, Mom, Claire said quickly. It's not nothing if you're both standing like that. Patricia looked at me the way you'd look at something tracked in on a shoe. Are you giving her a hard time, Daniel? I asked to spend more time with my fiancé. During a family tragedy. Patricia's voice sharpened. My son is barely 8 months in the ground and you're worried about date nights. Do you understand how that sounds? I understand grief. I'm asking for 5 minutes of my own life back. This isn't about you, Patricia snapped. It has never been about you. You need to stop making everything about you. I looked at Claire, waiting for her to say something, anything, in my defense. She didn't. She just stared at the floor like she agreed. That was the moment it really hit me. I wasn't just competing with grief anymore. I was competing with a family that had already decided where I ranked, and Claire wasn't going to be the one to argue the point. I found the bank statement by accident, 3 days later, looking for a receipt in the drawer where we kept our wedding folder. Our joint savings account, the one we'd built for 2 years, wedding venue deposits, the ring upgrade we'd talked about, the honeymoon fund, was almost $4,000 lighter than it should have been. 3 withdrawals. Same amount each time. Same date every month. I checked the memo line on the most recent one. Renee, rent. I sat there at the kitchen table for a long time, statement in my hand, and realized Claire hadn't just been giving Renee her time. She'd been giving her our future too, and she hadn't thought I was worth telling. The bank statement sat on the passenger seat the whole drive to Renee's apartment. I didn't call first. I didn't plan a speech. I just needed to see it with my own eyes before I let myself believe it. Claire's car was in the lot, same spot as always. Her overnight bag was in the trunk, unzipped, a toothbrush and a change of clothes visible on top. Not a bag for one late night helping with paperwork. A bag for staying. I buzzed the apartment. Renee answered, surprised to see me, and let me up without asking why. Claire was on the couch in sweatpants that weren't hers. Marcus's, I realized, a second too late, folding Theo's laundry like she'd done it 100 times. Daniel. She stood up fast. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing. Your overnight bag's in the car. I've been staying over sometimes. Theo wakes up scared in the middle of the night, and Renee can't be everywhere at once. Sometimes? Claire, your toothbrush is in that bag. Because I stay sometimes. How many nights this month? She hesitated. That hesitation told me more than any number could have. I don't keep count. I do, I said, because I'm the one sleeping alone. Renee stepped in, arms crossed, protective. Daniel, maybe this isn't the time. With respect, Renee, this is between me and Claire. It's my apartment. I know, and I'm not here to make you feel attacked. I'm here because my fiancé has basically moved in with you, and I found out from a bank statement before I found out from her. Claire's face went pale. You went through our account. I found a receipt. That's it. And I found $4,000 gone. Our wedding fund, Claire, gone into her rent. She needed it more than a venue deposit did. Maybe, but that wasn't only your money to give away. We moved it to the hallway outside, because even I had enough sense left not to do this in front of Renee's kid asleep down the hall. Claire's voice dropped to something sharp and fast, the kind of voice people use when they know they are losing. It's not like that, Daniel. I'm not staying here because I want to be here instead of home. I'm staying because a 5-year-old lost his father and is scared of the dark now, and his mother is barely holding it together. That's it. That's the whole story. Then why didn't you tell me? Why did I have to find a toothbrush and a bank statement to learn my fiancé's been living somewhere else for weeks? Because I knew you'd react exactly like this. Like I'm doing something wrong just for having a heart. I'm not saying you have a bad heart, Claire. I'm saying I don't exist in your decisions anymore. You didn't ask me about the money. You didn't tell me about the nights. You didn't even tell me you'd basically moved. I didn't move. I help. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. You're being paranoid, she said, and her voice cracked on the word, like she almost believed it herself. You're turning grief into some kind of accusation. Do you know how cruel that is? She just lost her husband, Daniel, and you're standing here jealous of a grieving widow. I'm not jealous of her grief. I'm exhausted by being invisible in my own relationship. That's when Patricia's car pulled into the lot. She must have called ahead, or Renee had texted her. Either way, she came through that door like she'd been summoned for exactly this. What is going on out here? She said, looking between us. Nothing, Mom. Daniel's upset. Upset about what? About me staying to help Renee. Patricia turned to me with an expression I'd seen before, the one that made me feel like a stain on good carpet. You're doing this now? Tonight? I didn't plan tonight, Patricia. I found out my fiancé's been sleeping somewhere else for weeks and our savings has been drained without a word to me. And you couldn't have handled that like an adult, privately, instead of showing up here to make a scene. I'm not the one who's been hiding things. Claire has been holding this family together since the day my son died, Patricia said, stepping closer, voice rising. You have a job, a home, 2 healthy parents, and your whole life still ahead of you. This family needs her more than you do right now, Daniel. Can you not see that? Or do you just not care? I stood there in that hallway, and something in me went very quiet. I do care, I said. I've cared for 4 years. I gave up a fellowship in Chicago for this family. I've missed my own milestones for this family. And not once, has anyone in this family asked what I needed. That's not what tonight is about, Patricia said. No, I said. It's exactly what tonight is about. It's what every night for the last 8 months has been about. I looked at Claire. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking at her mother, waiting to see what she should say next, the same way she'd looked at the floor the last time Patricia scolded me. That was my answer. You don't have to choose me over them, I said quietly. I get that. But you have to choose with me. Not for me. Not around me. And you haven't done that once. Daniel, I'm not angry that you love your family, Claire. I'm angry that you never once thought I deserved a say in what that love was going to cost us. I didn't wait for her to respond. I got in my car and drove home to an apartment that finally felt like it belonged to only one person, because it did. I packed a bag that night. Not to run away. To stop waiting. Sam didn't ask questions when I showed up at his door with a duffel bag at 11 at night. He just stepped aside and said, "Couch is yours as long as you need it." I sat on that couch for a long time before I said anything. I think it's been broken longer than I let myself see, I finally said. Most things are, Sam said. That's usually how you miss them. I didn't sleep. I lay there running through years like I was flipping through old blueprints, looking for the flaw that had been there since the foundation. The lease I broke for her. The internship I turned down. The weekends I gave up driving to her father's hospital room while my own projects piled up untouched. None of it had felt like sacrifice at the time. It had felt like love. That's the part that kept me up, realizing somewhere along the way, love had quietly turned into disappearing, one small yes at a time, until there wasn't much of me left to notice. Supporting someone was supposed to mean standing next to them. Somehow I'd ended up standing behind her instead, out of the frame completely, cheering for a life I wasn't in. My phone lit up at 12:40. Claire, I'm so sorry about tonight. Can we talk? I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, another one. You didn't have to storm out like that. You embarrassed me in front of my mother. That one I read twice, because it told me everything I needed to know about what she thought had actually happened. She called at 7 the next morning. I picked up, mostly to stop the buzzing. Daniel, thank God. Can we please talk in person? We talked last night. You yelled at my mother in a hallway. I didn't yell at anyone. I said out loud what I've been swallowing for months. You made it sound like I don't love you. I never said that. I said I don't factor into your decisions anymore. That's different. That's not fair. Everything I do because I have a good heart, and now you're punishing me for it. I'm not punishing you, Claire. I left. That's not a punishment. That's a boundary. She went quiet for a second. Then, softer. So what? You're just done? 4 years, and you're just done. I don't know yet what I am. I know I can't keep being the person who finds out about his own life from a bank statement. She didn't have an answer for that. She hung up instead. Patricia's text came an hour later, longer than anything she'd ever sent me before. I hope you're proud of yourself. My daughter is a wreck. My grandson-in-law butt-name is asking why Aunt Claire is crying. This family is in the middle of the worst year of our lives, and you chose now to abandon us over your own hurt feelings. I thought you were better than this, Daniel. I read it 3 times, and each time it landed a little less than the time before. Sam read it over my shoulder with his coffee in hand and made a sound like he'd bitten into something sour. Abandoning the family, he repeated. That's a hell of a sentence. She means it too. You're not abandoning a family, Daniel. Sam set his mug down hard enough that it rattled. You were never in this one. Not really. You were the guy who showed up, paid for things, cancelled his own plans, and got told to be grateful he was allowed to help. That's not family. That's a role. That's harsh. It's true. When's the last time anyone in that house asked how you were doing? Not how you were handling things. How you were doing. I didn't have an answer, because there wasn't one. Marcus dying was a tragedy, Sam went on. Nobody's arguing that. But you've been grieving right alongside them for 8 months, carrying half their weight, and not one of them noticed you needed carrying too. That's not love, man. That's a family that found a very convenient extra pair of hands. I thought about fighting for it. I want to be honest about that. Some part of me, the part that had said yes for 4 years straight, wanted to call Claire back and say we could figure it out, that I'd try to understand, that maybe I was being too rigid about a grieving family's needs. But another part of me, quieter and steadier, was already done arguing. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want Patricia to suffer, or Renee to struggle, or even Claire to hurt the way I was hurting. I just wanted, for the first time in years, to stop shrinking myself to fit into spaces other people had already filled. You said Chicago's fellowship program is still active. I asked Sam, around noon, staring at my phone. I think so. Why? I turned something down for that family once. I think it's time I stopped turning things down. Sam looked at me for a long second, like he wanted to make sure I meant it. Ms. Alvarez still runs it? I asked. Last I heard. I opened my email and found the folder I never deleted, the acceptance letter I'd never actually accepted, sitting there for 8 months like a door I refused to close. I didn't reply to Claire's next 3 texts. I didn't answer Patricia's message at all. I wrote to Ms. Alvarez instead. I know it's been a while. I'm hoping the door isn't completely closed. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it, and for the first time in months, I felt like I was building something instead of holding something up. Ms. Alvarez called me back 2 days later. I almost didn't recognize her voice at first. It had been 3 years since I'd heard it, back when she was the one telling me I'd won something I never got to keep. Daniel Reyes, she said. I wondered if I'd ever hear from you again. I know it's late. I know the fellowship's probably long filled. It is. That door's closed. I won't lie to you. She paused. But I might have a better one. What do you mean? Robert Chen and Associates, here in Chicago, is building out a new residential division and looking for someone who can lead design from the ground up, not just execute someone else's vision. I sent him your old portfolio when you first applied. He remembered it. 3 years later. Good work stays with people, Daniel. He's got an opening. I told him I'd pass your name along, if you wanted it. I sat there holding the phone, feeling something I hadn't felt in months. Not hope exactly, but the shape hope leaves behind before it fully arrives. Send it, I said. Send it today. The interview happened over video call the following week. Robert Chen didn't waste time on small talk. Your renderings from the Alvarez Fellowship application, he said, pulling something up on his screen. The community housing concept. Did you ever build anything off that? No. I turned the fellowship down. Why? I thought about lying, dressing it up into something more professional. I didn't. Family circumstances. I don't regret staying for the people I stayed for. I regret staying quiet about what it cost me. Chen nodded slowly, like that answer mattered more than a polished one would have. I like architects who tell the truth about their blueprints, even the personal ones. He leaned back. The role's yours if you want it. Lead designer, residential division. You'd start in 6 weeks. I didn't hesitate. I want it. Good. Chicago's colder than you're used to. Buy a real coat. Sam took the news better than I expected and worse than I hoped, all at once. Chicago, he said, staring at me across his kitchen table. For real this time. For real this time. I'm happy for you. I am. He rubbed the back of his neck. I'm also going to miss having someone to blame for the bad coffee in this apartment. You'll survive. Yeah. He was quiet a second. You know Claire's been asking about you. Through mutual friends. Not directly. What's she asking? If you're okay. If you're seeing anyone. If you're still at the old apartment. He hesitated. Word is things aren't going great over there. What do you mean? Apparently Patricia's been leaning harder on both of them since you left. Micromanaging everything. How Renee spends money, how Claire spends her time, when she's allowed to have a night to herself. Renee started depending on Claire for basically everything. Groceries, Theo's school pickups, all of it. And Claire's exhausted. Someone said she looked like she hadn't slept right in weeks. That's not something I can fix, Sam. I know. I'm not saying go fix it. I'm just telling you what's out there. He looked at me carefully. She gave up a lot to hold that family together. Word is she's starting to realize she doesn't have much left over. Including you. I didn't say anything to that. There wasn't a version of sympathy I owed that didn't also feel like walking backward. Claire showed up at my apartment 3 days before my flight, unannounced, boxes already half-packed behind me in the living room. You're really leaving, she said, looking past me at the stacked boxes. I am. Can I come in? I let her in. Old habits don't disappear just because you've decided to stop feeding them. She sat on the arm of the couch, not the couch itself, like she didn't feel entitled to the whole seat anymore. I've been thinking a lot, she said. About what you said. About choosing with you instead of around you. And you were right. Her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard it. I told myself I was being a good sister, a good daughter, a good person. But if I'm honest, I didn't know how to grieve Marcus. I didn't know what to do with that kind of loss, so I filled every hour of it with Renee's problems instead of sitting with my own. It was easier to fix her life than face mine. And where did that leave us? Nowhere, she admitted. You weren't a priority, Daniel. You were background noise I trusted to always be there, no matter how far back I pushed you. That's not fair. I know that now. Why now? Because now I'm exhausted, and my mother still isn't satisfied, and Renee still needs more than I have left to give, and you're not here to come home to anymore. I finally have nothing to distract myself with, so I have to actually feel it. I wanted to feel vindicated. I mostly just felt tired, in a sad, quiet way. I'm not saying this to get you to stay, she said quickly. I know that ship's gone. I just needed you to know I finally see it. All of it. I appreciate you saying that, I said. I do. But I can't build a life waiting to see if you'll choose it next time. I know. She stood up, wiped her eyes once, quick, like she didn't want to give the moment more than that. For what it's worth, I hope Chicago gives you everything staying here didn't. Thank you. She left without asking to stay longer, without another apology, without any of the arguing that used to fill every hard conversation we ever had. Just a quiet goodbye at my door, the kind that finally matched the truth of where we'd already been for months. I finished packing that night. For the first time since Marcus's funeral, the apartment felt like mine again, not because she was gone, but because I finally was too, in every way that mattered. 6 months in Chicago, and I still wasn't used to how the wind came off the lake like it had somewhere urgent to be. I was standing in the Chen and Associates conference room, pinning up renderings for the Delancey Community Center, when Robert Chen walked in without knocking, the way he always did. The committee shortlisted us, he said, no preamble. Top 3 out of 11 firms. Seriously? Seriously. They liked the courtyard concept. Said it felt like a building that actually wanted people in it. He tapped the rendering. Your idea, your name on the credit line. Final presentations in 3 weeks. I stood there a second, letting it land. 8 months ago, I was sitting in a hallway being told I didn't matter as much as someone else's grief. Now my name was on a credit line for a building that hadn't even been built yet. Don't just stand there, Chen said, already walking out. Go make it better. Jenna Park found me 20 minutes later, hunched over the courtyard model with a ruler in my teeth like it might help me think. You look like a man who forgot people eat lunch, she said. I have a presentation in 3 weeks. You have a presentation in 3 weeks and a life outside this building, allegedly. She dropped a sandwich on my desk. Eat. Talk to me about the roofline instead. I think you're overcomplicating the east entrance. I'm not overcomplicating it. You are. You're trying to make it perfect instead of trying to make it work. Those aren't the same thing. I looked at the model again, and she was right, the way she usually was. Jenna had a habit of saying exactly the thing I needed to hear without dressing it up first. How do you always catch that? I asked. Because I've watched you build 4 projects now, and every time you get scared of losing something, you overbuild the part that's already fine. She shrugged, unbothered, biting into her own sandwich. You don't have to protect every corner of this thing, Daniel. Some of it's just allowed to be simple. I didn't say anything for a second, because it wasn't really about the roofline anymore, and we both knew it. Thanks, Jenna. Anytime. Now eat your sandwich before I make you talk about your feelings instead. That was Jenna, sharp, unbothered, never asking more of me than I was ready to give, never needing me to disappear to make room for her. It was the first friendship I'd built in a long time that didn't cost me anything to keep. Claire called on a Sunday evening in October. I almost didn't pick up. I'm glad I did. Hi, she said. I know it's been a while. It has. How are you? Honestly, better than I've been in years. A small laugh, tired but real. I moved out of the city, got my own place, actually mine, not close enough for my mom to drop by unannounced anymore. That's good, Claire. I started therapy too, about 4 months ago. She paused. Turns out I had a lot to say about Marcus that I never let myself say to anyone, including myself. I'm glad you're doing that. I'm not calling to ask you to come back, she said quickly, like she needed to get it out before either of us could misread the moment. I know that door's closed, and honestly, I think it should be. I needed to tell you something, and I didn't want to keep carrying it without saying it out loud. Okay. I erased you, she said. Not on purpose, not because I stopped loving you, but I erased you from decisions that were supposed to be ours. The money, the nights, all of it. I made choices for both of us and only told myself a story where I was the good one. You deserved a partner who asked what you needed instead of assuming you'd always just be fine with less. I wasn't that partner. I'm sorry, Daniel. Really. I let that sit for a moment before I answered. I forgive you, I said, and meant it. I'm not saying that to open a door back up. I'm saying it because I don't want to carry the anger anymore, and you don't have to carry the guilt forever either. Thank you, she said, voice thick. I hope Chicago's everything you needed it to be. It's getting there. We didn't make promises to stay in touch. We didn't need to. Some conversations exist to close something properly, not to open something new, and this was one of them. 3 weeks later, I stood outside the Delancey Community Center on opening day, watching families walk through the courtyard I'd designed. Kids chasing each other around the fountain Chen had almost cut from the budget until I fought for it. Jenna stood beside me, arms crossed, grinning at the crowd like she'd built it herself. In a way, she had. Feels different seeing it full of people, doesn't it? She said. Yeah, I said. It does. I thought about the fellowship letter I'd buried 8 months ago in a kitchen drawer, and the hallway where I'd finally said out loud what I'd swallowed for years, and Patricia's voice telling me this family needed Claire more than I did. She was right, in a way. They did need her, but nobody had ever asked what I needed, and it took losing everything I thought I couldn't survive without to finally answer that question myself. I hadn't left Claire to punish her. I hadn't left to win some quiet war against her family. I'd left because for the first time in years, I chose the one person in that whole story who never got a vote. Me. Standing there, watching that courtyard fill with strangers who'd never know what it cost me to build it, I finally understood. Walking away wasn't the ending of my story. It was the first page of the one I actually got to write.